Good morning. How's how is Team Florida? I
Team
think that was
Florida flew home last night. I was in Jersey for a birthday party and I was supposed to be working from up there because of the holiday. And I was scared by the storm. So jumped on a flight and got home yesterday late afternoon.
Oh, that was probably a good
And then
decision.
they didn't get hit. No, they only got some rain where I was.
Oh,
you're where'd you fly out of Philly or
Newark. I said by you.
gotcha.
Yeah,
we're having the loveliest of weather.
it's beautiful here today too.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
So before everybody gets on, Rob, I wanted to thank you because you gave me a nudge a couple of weeks ago about being a little more assertive with my team and their growth. So I actually put new boundaries on and new goals that they have to meet to stay on the team, and everybody is stepping up. So the whole accountability is love thing working.
That's good. That's
Thank
good.
you.
Well, sometimes you got to step away and take a look at what doesn't make sense, right?
Yes, absolutely. Hey, Chopper.
New Jersey's in the house. What's up there, Chopper?
Good morning. Just trying to stay dry.
Yeah, it's a little soggy here today, but not too
Oh,
bad.
is it? You did. So you got the rain. You just didn't get those nasty winds.
They're coming. They're coming.
The coast got them, right?
Yeah, I think a little bit. I don't know how bad it is, but I don't think it was as bad as they had expected, you know?
Yeah. They were starting to cancel flights and shift flights around and say there was going to be no inbound to Newark. And of course, I went into, oh God, I'm working. I got to get home mode.
And that along with the fact that there's the shutdown issues would make me a little bit nervous as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I got to fly out tomorrow to Elite Retreat, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
How is that? I thought about going this year and I didn't schedule it. Is it something I should consider in the future?
They're good. They're good. They're all good. You know,
Yeah.
I go with no expectations. On the flight back, I realized what I received. You know,
So today I wanted to talk about, consistent, repeatable, and scalability, right? As we go into next year, if you ever feel a little bit deflated as the year goes around and it's like, all right, here we are, we're back to zero, right? And you got to go do it all again. Um, Systems is what's going to give you peace of mind that your business is going to go automatically. Well, but you have to play your part in the system as well. So the second part to that is I think if we implement the systems, and it starts with planning and accountability, it's going to create a clear and measurable degree of separation between us and the competition. Clear and measurable degree of separation. I am working on a listing appointment process, which is going to try to take, what I've been helping some of you do and kind of break it down so that anybody who makes a commitment to do it can have a repeatable outcome with the best possible pricing, cap win rate, and compensation rate on that listing appointment. Because in my opinion, that's the holy grail of any, like, when the market was hot, that's incredible. When the market's where it is now, what's really important about that listing is to make sure you get it priced right.
That's right.
Right. So the market is pivoting, and why do people overprice properties and why do people undercompensate agents? Anybody?
They have they don't understand how the market works. And if they if they don't pay agents properly, then the agent hasn't communicated the value of what they do properly.
So and whose responsibility is it to make sure that they can understand how the market works?
Agent.
It's our responsibility, right?
Right.
And, you know, I've heard this said a lot of times, oh, Rob, you don't understand this customer. Very difficult, right? But it has more to do about the process that we implement than the tendencies of the client, right? And anybody know Jay Abraham, right?
Love him. Been listening to him for 30 years plus.
Great guy. And I'm going to give an analogy to one of his saying. He says 2% of what happens to us are acts of God and we can't control. 98% of what happens to us are a result of the of actions we take or fail to take, decisions we make or don't make, forces, factors, and other immutables that we either don't recognize or recognize and either refuse to harness or harness. That's a lot of words, but basically, you know, 98% of everything that goes on is not pointing the finger at them, it's on us, right? There's only very, very small percentages of times that the outcome is not due to us. So if we put in these systems, right, and you know, um, we make it into a process so that's not random. You know, what's a listing worth in your market, Patrick? Like, what's your ideal compensation rate and what's your average price?
I would say that our ideal compensation rate is probably in the 5 to 6% range. If we're talking about a residential home, you're probably in the $600,000 average sale price. I think
So
we
you're
would love, what would be ideal is if we can get that average sale price out.
so you're 600,000 times three or three and a half in an ideal circumstance, right?
Yeah, yes.
So you're 20 grand. Lynn, what's your average?
Sorry, I kept it on mute because the dogs were barking. Probably 5 to 6% would be the same average commission in our area, and about 1 million,
Million.
that'd be our
Uh,
average.
and Kathy, what's your average sale price and your ideal compensation? She might be on mute. So the point of the exercise here is it's a lot of money, right? And to have that process go randomly and to, you know, sometimes take it at 2%, sometimes 2.5, sometimes 3.5, and blame it on the client, it's it's not that's not reasonable in my opinion. Okay. The outcome is more determined 98% of the processes that we have, the mindset, the confidence, the communication skills, right? I want to find another, let's see if I can find this here for a second. Oh yeah, here's another, Chopper, you'll love this, right? Few know, this is another Jay Abraham. I was kind of tying into one of his podcasts. Few know and understand how to ask great questions and moreover, how to listen to the answers. Okay. If you want to be interesting, then be interested. If you want to be interesting, then be interested. Take time to examine, explore, understand, appreciate, and respect how the other side sees life, as their goals in reality aren't the same as ours. Quite prolific, in my opinion, right? So it's not only, you know, asking questions, but it's also understanding it. And to me, you know, this whole repeatable, consistent, repeatable, and scalable business um, is all about installing systems that have integrity. That means that we don't say we have a system, we actually follow the system, right? So, you know, many of us are in, you know, is it a holiday for most of you in Florida? Like here, a lot of businesses are closed, and you guys are still here working. So that shows the level of commitment to the system, right? Um, and you know, for somebody like Chopper, I don't know, you know, where you got your, you know, sales skills from, but my guess is that you're probably very natural because you were a business person previously, and it's hard to copy somebody who just has natural closing skills, right? So I think what we need to do for the team members who aren't performing at the same level is systematize it into a process that they can execute on, knowing that every listing that they lose, it's $20,000 to $50,000, right? It's not a small piece. And I know on the Friday Mastermind, a lot of people were saying they have 70 to 90% close rates on listing appointments. Well, quite frankly, I don't believe most of them. And if they do, sometimes they're taking listings that are not, practical, right? They'll do or say anything to get the listing. And, in Florida, that doesn't really work, does it? Right? Gopi, overpricing listings in Florida, that ship sailed, right?
Yes.
So, um, and the reason why they do it is because we haven't communicated effectively, what's going to happen. And if we don't master our skills, it's easy just to say, okay, Lynn, your house is worth, 990 to 1,025,000, and yet you listed at 1,150,000 because we don't have the skills to ask the right questions to get the outcome that we need. And, if you're sitting around people who are saying someday I'll get my chance, or maybe it'll be the next one, I think maybe it's time to run away from those people because it's brought on by themselves, right?
Yeah.
That's the mindset piece that really, breaks down the whole process. Who started doing their business planning for next year already? And are you above or below? Are you forecasting higher than last year?
Higher.
Higher?
Much higher, yeah.
And Glenn, I'm still recovering from last week's session where you said that your team took a dump. What the hell happened?
Accountability.
But
I,
you
uh,
aren't
I, s-
you aren't Mr. Accountability though. How'd that happen?
they asked to hit pause for 2 months during the summer, and then I got my ass kicked in September.
So,
Never happened again.
right. I mean, like, I guess you have to balance, taking time off with also not pulling the pedal off the gas, right? Because
Yeah,
now they're probably hurting. I mean, it's brutal for you, but they're all struggling as well, right?
yeah, for sure.
Because money is missed. Um, and Glenn, what percentage of your team members' business is buyer versus listing
We are 66% buyer.
on the team member? What about your business? Is it flopped or
Um, no, yeah, I'm actually 80% buyer. I mean, 80% seller.
listings, right?
Yeah, listings.
And why do you think that you're biased buyer side so heavily?
A lot of young agents. Yeah, they're working open houses from my leads mostly. Um, I don't buy any leads, so the only options they really have are to do open houses, to work their sphere, or do events to meet people.
Gotcha. Do you have a specific strategy to try to balance that, or are you okay with it the way it is?
Um, I'm not. Yeah, I want to be heavier listing, but I'm just realistic that where their skill sets lie is really where they're at right now.
So expand on that. So you said
So
they're
um, yeah,
not
so they're loaded with 7 to 8 active buyers at a time. So and when I say active, like they're showing probably 15, 20 homes a week. The opportunity for them to do other things is less than ideal. Let's put it that way, because they're so busy with active buyers.
so when they're working with buyers, what do you think the biggest challenge is for them having so many like how many showings do you think it is to a sale in your opinion? Like how many properties
Um,
do they show?
The teams are between 5 and 6 right now. It's like 5.3, I think it is.
That's right.
And obviously they must have some people that they show properties to that don't ever buy, right? Or don't ever buy with them.
Yes.
What do you think?
Most of them with BBAs, or anyone that has a BBA generally is closing nowadays.
Do you think some people with a BBA, go out looking, get frustrated, and decide not to buy with anybody, not necessarily
Uh,
go to somebody else?
we're not experiencing that frequently.
So I would just and I would encourage you to take a inventory of how many BBAs are out there, and then track 90 days out to see how many of them are closed or under contract at your next meeting. Because
Yeah.
I think they're prone to exaggerate the active buyers that they have. And then we also have the cycle of how long it takes to buy a particular property. What do you believe that to be?
Probably about, I'm guessing about 120 days in today's market. I don't
From
know the actual day because we we log their first showing, and then we log when they go under contract, and that's at about 120 days.
And on the buying side, Glenn, what's the responsibility? Like, what's the role that your team members play?
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
So, if I didn't know, if I wasn't familiar with real estate, what does a buyer's agent do?
Oh, okay. So their job is to get them pre-qualified, understand what they can be pre-qualified to do, because we have some unique lending programs. They have to understand the area, the needs, the client's specific needs. They are not permitted to put them on auto search listings. If they're an active buyer, that's forbidden. They have to be manually searched, meaning that it goes to them before it goes to the client. They have to vet all of those beforehand before it goes to the client. And when they're showing homes, obviously they're setting up appointments, they're coordinating those activities, and then obviously all the closing activities, which is really checklist based. And we have some stops along the way. So like at day 30, if you haven't found something for them, we have a series of activities that you need to do. At day 60, if you haven't found something, and at day 90, I jump back in and reevaluate the client.
So this is all about like the process of, taking, somebody that is in their sphere or that they encounter through an open house and trying to match them up with the right house and trying to find the most effective system, correct?
Correct.
So I'm gonna put something out in the universe, which is if we could get them more interested in, instead of buying a house, into the concept of home ownership and what that means. Because I think, what we do as an industry is we ask questions like, Glenn, where do you want to be? What's important to you? Schools, this, what's your price range? What's your budget? But we don't talk about the whole concept of home ownership enough and what that means in terms of, you know, um, wealth, in terms of all the intangible benefits of home ownership. Kids doing better in school, having um, a viable asset. You talked about, and I'm going to give you credit for the term cow, right? Cost of waiting, Glenn. Do you think that
Correct.
do you think everybody talks about the cost of waiting? Or do you think
Um,
they shortcut it and try to see if they're pre-qualified and they say they're motivated?
Yeah, I mean, as part of our buyer strategy session, we talk about the cost of waiting and we kind of show how that works out, even in high interest environments. We try to quell the whole high interest question before they ask it.
Um, how many of the buyers on anybody's team on this call do you think are actually talking to their clients about the net worth of homeowners versus renters in the process?
I mean, my guys, Andrew's been good to convert some people from being tenants to buyers. I know in the past, Gino and Patrick did maybe 500, 600 rentals, and they converted a handful of them.
All right, and this is just this is just a corollary, but this is also uh who's the gentleman I just mentioned, Chopper? My mind is
Jay Abraham.
Jay Abraham. Yes, you know, he was talking about this with Tom Ferry podcast, you know, from years ago. Your house will be your sanctuary for joy, a place where your children will have access to quality friends, and a place where you look forward to coming home, transforming the future of your children's success and your wealth creation. Like, and he just spilled that out like on a conversation with Tom Ferry about um, you know, where we fall short in the line, right? And apparently, the context of this podcast was Tom Ferry's paying Jay Abraham tons of money to coach him. Pretty interesting, huh? But like, I think like your house will be your sanctuary for joy, a place where your children will have access to quality friends, a place where you will look forward to coming home. You know, transforming your future, transforming the future of your children's success and your wealth creation. Like all of that stuff is true, and you know, bam, he just said that without even thinking. And I think we do a good job at trying to match them up to what they tell us, but we don't really get them bought into the concept of home ownership. We just get them into the process of selling them a home. All right. And I don't think, you know, to Glenn's point, and probably your own team is guilty as well, is, you know, the cost of waiting, because we feel we don't want to be pushy, right? Do you think that it's possible that some buyers agents feel like they don't want to push a client? They're afraid that they might push them away if they're too aggressive. But I think, you know, educating them is not pushing them, right? Talking about what the damage is from waiting, because there are people that, you know, 2 weeks will turn into 2 months, will turn into 2 years, right? And then over 2 years, they've lost the momentum to buy, right?
True.
So, you know, and you know, Lynn, for your team, like I look at it and this is a tremendous opportunity. It's a coaching point for um, you to have conversations with people on your team that super awesome people, you know, sometimes they're just a little bit intimidated, right?
Yep.
Can you just share what you were talking about earlier about kind of being a little bit firmer with your team and give a specific example?
Sure. So I have actually amazing people on the team. They're the people that were not are no longer on the team, but I do have some that are either a little timid or a little old school and set in their ways. And Rob and I had a conversation, and Rob convinced me that the right thing to do was to be a little more firm and to give more accountability and more structure and more, I'll call them goals, but some of them were minimums. Um, so last week at our meeting, when we went over, or I'm sorry, 2 weeks ago now, when we went over all of our goals for 2026, I told them that there are now restrictions to be on the team that are a little more harsh than they were in the past. And it was all intended to help them do better. So for their new business plans, which we've already started working on, the people that were not really pushing even for their minimum from last year, I now told them that the minimum that they had last year needs to increase, and in order to stay on the team, they have to meet that goal. So what I'm finding now is we talked about block scheduling, and we talked about making calls you're uncomfortable with and going to events that maybe I would coordinate for everybody to be at. Now I've put everybody in charge of something to coordinate for the team. And 2 weeks in, and I'm seeing a lot of improvement already just by making them accountable, not just to the team, but to themselves. The calls are being made, the appointments are being set, closings are happening. People are negotiating things that they really didn't have the courage to negotiate before.
Anybody know who Alan Dalton is? Anybody know that name? So, Chopper, how long you been in the game in Bergen County?
What do you mean legally?
No, how long you been in real estate?
Legally since 20 when I got my license, 2008,
2009 illegally.
9. Yeah, legally. I
So,
was selling properties on the side when I had my furniture factory. I used to run the money through there.
you remember Murphy Realty?
Oh, sure. I'm from Wyckoff.
Yes. So Murphy Realty, Alan Dalton was Murphy's partner when they went from 2 offices to like 57 before they kind of went under and sold to Coldwell Banker, or maybe they didn't go under. Maybe it was a strategic sale. I'm not sure. Um, but anyway, Alan Dalton, his claim to fame from taking it from 2 to 60 offices was he would go on any appointment with any client. So he was going on 1 or 2 listing appointments a week and closing like 99% of them. And that's how he grew the brand. And I actually didn't know that. And that's what I love to do. And I'm going to suggest that all of you go on a buyer consult and a listing appointment with your team members, even if it's not to help them, but to see what they're doing, to take inventory to that process and see how you can improve them. Okay. And many of you probably are familiar with the gentleman by the name of Sharon Srivatsa. Anybody know that name? Glenn, do you ever watch any of his stuff?
All of it.
He's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, he's a very smart guy.
So he took his company and he did the same thing probably in the 2011 to 2015 period before he sold his company to Douglas Elliman. And he was going on all these, multiple $1 million listings with his agents, built up the business and sold it, then became president of Real, then gave that up to work for acquisition.com. Really, really bright guy. I don't think he came through the traditional ranks of real estate. I'm not sure. I don't know his resume, but he definitely had a different approach. And you know, I just want to put it out there that, if your team is going through, your team members going through coaching, business planning, and they're not meeting the numbers that they put down last year, this year, what makes us think that next year they're going to meet their numbers? So maybe go on an appointment, sit with them when they meet with a buyer. I believe that maybe we have the exception here, but most people, they talk to somebody in their database. They say they want to buy a house in Boynton Beach, right? We ask them all the right questions, and then we start running them around and showing them properties. When I'm just trying to think, Kathy, how long have you been in the business? I don't know if you're
Sorry
able to.
about that. I'm driving. So, 31 years.
So thank goodness, Kathy. So you remember when a buyer used to come in the office, right?
Oh, I remember dot matrix. I remember books. I remember everything.
Right, but the whole concept of a buyer, we would bring them into the office and we would sit down with them and we would talk to them about what the process entails, right? Before we'd go out and run around and show them a house.
We would even pre-qualify them before the mortgage person.
Yep. So I think a lot of that is missing right now, and I think that pre-qualifying the process, not whether they can afford it, but maybe pre-qualifying the motivation. Maybe if they say they want to buy a 4-bedroom house in Franklin, maybe we need to ask better questions to see if that's really what they want, right? We're trying to find them the best deal on the wrong house because we're not asking the right questions. That's my observation from looking at it from, a very similar, um, experience level in the business, Kathy, is that a lot of the people, we think our job is to, you know, negotiate and open doors for them to find the right house where it's not to, maybe ask questions and find out if what they're asking for is not what they need or what they deserve or what's the best, possibility for them, right? It's like if it was a stockbroker and somebody's 64 wants to retire in 4 years and they're selling them junk bonds and speculative stocks, right? Like probably not the right prescription for them. And sometimes we just assume that they know what's best for themselves, and we're just trying to find them the best deal on the wrong house if we don't have that appointment.
That's true.
So, and I'm, Bobby Golden, how long have you been doing this? 25? Anyway, I I think that's something that we ought to, not do it as, hey, I want to inspect what you're doing, but say, hey, I want to help you with your next buyer in listing opportunity, and go out there and see how they do. Right. So anyway,
Hey, Rob, I had I spent the weekend with my mentoring group, and they did something that was so interesting. I think would be helpful for this group to do. So they have what's called a hot seat, and basically everyone sits in the hot seat and opens their books, their business, and how they their financials, their challenges, and then from today until January, basically they're EOS folks, so they use the EOS throughout the whole thing. You have to set 3 rocks and just 3 things that you're going to accomplish by January, and then the group holds each other accountable to that. So a 3-month sprint essentially for those things. When the hot seat sucked a lot, I'm going to say it's pretty hard when a group of really high flyers, 63 teams, tear your business apart, but you learn a lot about yourself. So I think I thought it was a really interesting concept that they did. And the accountability is obviously quarterly. But it's setting very short goals that are really specific, super specific.
so where did you fall in the matrix of all those teams this year? I know last year you were towards the bottom.
Yeah. I'm about, on paper, I'm middle of the pack. On profitability, I'm probably 62 out of 63.
From the best.
Yeah. From profitability perspective, my numbers look great on the top line and they're terrible on the bottom line.
Which is
But
interesting.
one really important thing was every single one in the room except for me charges a transaction fee. I'm the only person in the entire room that didn't charge a transaction fee. I leave $200,000 on the table a year.
To the agent, not the client, or both.
To the client, only to the client. These people are selling average home prices of 250,000 and they're charging 995.
Yeah.
I was literally, you could have knocked me over with a feather when I saw what I was leaving on the table.
Does anybody know anybody charging transaction fees in New Jersey?
Willa Farrow was.
I do.
Chopper does.
Who else does?
I
Willa
do.
Farrow, Coldwell Banker.
Okay. Chopper, you know somebody who?
Us.
You charge the client a transaction fee?
I get it from the buyer side. And I get pushback from Coldwell Banker and I get pushback from Weichert. And I tell Coldwell Banker, you offer me 195,000 at COVID. I don't work for you. I said, cheap ass Jimmy Weichert offered me 129,000. I don't work for him. So I don't work for either one of your companies. It's 277. Otherwise, you ain't getting the deal.
So you charge it from the buyer's agent, right? As a
Yeah.
what we used to
Yeah,
call
this is different.
yeah.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that this is your 2% plus whatever it is in the listing agreement, 2% plus whatever it is in the BBA.
Right. Right.
I still get the piece from the buyer's agent, which is there, but this is in addition to.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So Chopper, in other states, that's kind of commonplace. Probably, I'm going to say 35 to 40 of the other states, there's consumers pay a transaction fee in the process, and New Jersey and some of the surrounding areas, it's not as common. I think Pennsylvania, they even do it.
They do. And when I ask them if they even get questioned on it, everyone says not a question. It's just part of the transaction. And he said that we have first-time buyers, so it's no different than any first-time buyer we have. It's all about how you present it.
You don't even have to present it that much.
And it's funny because, but I think it's so for me, it was a hurdle to get over. And then they're like, it is a non-issue. It doesn't matter where you are. If you've demonstrated your value, people just think it's a part of what you pay and go forth with it.
I mean, you pay it when you buy a car, you pay it when you, I mean, it's, people kind of expect it.
So I might just be blazing a pioneer path, Rob, because it takes my profitability per agent from $11,000 to 18.
Well, look, I'm not sure why nobody's done it on a big scale in New Jersey, yet. But I think the buyer agency agreements highlights, either our skill set or our deficiency in the ability to communicate to clients, right? It's kind of like a line in the sand where you can figure out if you love buyer agency agreements, then you've upped your game. If you don't like them, then your value proposition and probably your communication of it more directly is limiting you, right? Because
Yeah,
like, would we ever list a property without an exclusive right to sell? Hell no,
right,
right?
right.
So why would we run buyers around if they're not going to be loyal to us? Like, if we don't have a relationship, right? And I think it's fair to say, hey, let's have a conversation if we're a good fit. Let's determine how this is going to work out and let's get to work, right? Instead of being worried about if somebody's, not going to work with us. They're going to, buy a FISBO or whatever. Like, those are conversations that should have been happening years ago. So, Glenn, let us know how that works out if you don't mind in New Jersey. I'm very interested to see how your team first embraces it. Do you think they're going to give you a lot of resistance?
I'm not going to make it optional, Rob, because when I looked at my numbers compared to the others,
Right.
it's not optional, right? And they have an option. They do. It can come out of their commission, or they're going to pay me. They're going to go to the client for that amount.
And in Florida, it's probably 10% that agents pay that on their own. Would you agree, Beth? Right? Some agents don't charge it, but 90% do.
10% is probably high. I remember when we first bought the brokerage, the agents that were on board then just felt like charging a transaction fee was, that just wasn't fair. We're already taking the fee, commission and so forth. And we were intimidated by the agents at first, but then after a while, we just said we're charging it. It's same as Glenn just said. Either you charge the customer or it's coming out of your commission. I mean, we're fairly reasonable. We're charging $3.95. There are a lot of brokerages charging $9.95. I think if you charge $9.95 the customer, I like to keep it at an amount a little bit under the radar that they don't notice it that much. Even though it's disclosed, we disclose it. But if you charge $9.95, that's $1,000. I mean, people are going to question that. What's this $1,000 here?
And Glenn, what about where you're going to charge?
Listing side 795, buy side 695.
And what do
And
you
Rob, I
think?
think I think when you when you open your books to 63 heavy hitters and you're comparing their profitability to yours and their process to yours, and granted, everyone has different colors to it, but the thing that became super evident to me was that I am in my $91 million company I sold. I could tell you every single line item that I sold and what the profitability was on it. And if you ask me how much is my profitability on a listing, I have zero capability to do that. And it became super evident that we don't track that accurately enough as realtors because we think it's not important. But if I'm going to run a company that can be a company, I just came out of it going, man, I'm outsourced. I outsource my finances and I get them quarterly right now. And I need to have the pulse every single month. Like I need to know how much a listing costs. And I need to know how much an agent costs me. And the agent cost isn't just your tech cost, right? There's a lot of other things that get spread across those. And I don't have that. And I am not going to run a business that way anymore. These people are, and they're tacking on 300 to 500 transactions a year and growing. And I'm just pushing, I'm just doing more of the same messy middle, right? Like and when you do that and you look at that and then you go, hold on a second, here's my profitability. What's the difference? It was a glaring, obvious thing that was the difference in their business to my business, for sure. That's the number one thing I was leaving on the table. So that's why that's a necessary evil. And then of course, splits is the next one. And that's one of the 3 rocks I have to address in the next 3 months.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing that. Appreciate you all coming on a rainy day in New Jersey and a beautiful day in Florida. Have a wonderful holiday, and I'll see you Friday and Monday. Bye,
All right.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
The highest of all Italian holidays,
Bye-bye.
Columbus Day.
You got it. Thanks, Chopper.